you're never going to love your art if you hate yourself, because art is self-expression. So you can't love self-expression if you hate the thing it's an expression of, which is you. And so I think you have to have a curiosity about yourself. How can you expect people to be interested in your self-expression if you're not interested in yourself enough to like look at it and be curious about it?
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am today going off script with the third illustrator in a row. And this is actually not an illustration podcast, so this is quite a coincidence. Well, first of all, Andy, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here, Alan. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure. I've talked to... Well, the last episode I published was with Luis Mendo. He's an illustrator, Spanish, now living in Japan. This morning I recorded a podcast with Belgian illustrator, and now it's you. So it's quite a coincidence here.
Now you've got Ohio. That's all the big places. You're pretty much like you can cross them all off.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wish I was in Japan, honestly, or Belgium. I could go. I love Ohio. Don't get me wrong, but that sounds fun.
Yeah. Belgium is really, really nice. I've been there like 2 times, I think, and it was really, really great. Better than the Netherlands, the Amsterdam. It's way, way more interesting, I would say. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get us off topic right away. My ADHD will do that, but I just want to go because it's the kingdom of mayo with fries. And I love that. I'm such a fan. Everyone in America hates that. Can't even understand that. I want to go. I just mainly for that.
Yeah. Well, I definitely, I say you go, and those are the best fries I've ever had in my life.
I want that.
Like I went, I think maybe some 7-8 years ago, and it was like, I couldn't believe it. You know, you eat fries all your life, and then you stumble upon the best fries in the world. And that was like real amazing thing.
I never have real mayo at home because that's just too much. I have to get the light mayo or the avocado mayo or something. But yeah, like when you have real mayo as a treat, you're like, whoa, this is, and it's terrible for you, but it's delicious.
Absolutely. But like once in a lifetime, it's definitely worth it.
100%.
But when we are talking about food, and you are world known by your, well, let's say last name, pizza, Andy J Pizza.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know that your last name is actually Miller.
True.
And that you hated your domain name.
Yeah.
Andy, line J dash Miller. And then you picked Andy J Pizza, and everyone started calling you that way.
Yeah.
How did you accept it? It's not my name, but it is, people call me that way.
I think, there's a couple different levels to it. There's a personal level, and then there's the professional level. So the personal level didn't really, this is kind of sad. I don't need to turn this into therapy right away. Maybe we'll get into that, but
we'll get there. Yeah.
I think that I don't feel super connected to my last name. I don't feel like, I feel like family. I love my family, and but I'm kind of the odd one out, honestly. I've have kind of a broken up family, and even my extended family is kind of all over the place in a way. And so I love all those people, but I don't really feel like a Miller. I don't feel like I ever felt like a Miller.
Okay.
I kind of related more to my mom's side, and they're Andersons. And so I think it never really clicked with me. So I didn't have a lot of attachment. Then on the professional side, the biggest hurdle, I think, and this is a dumb example of this, but I think it's an important idea. I think you have to, at some point, be ready to disobey your masters, so to speak. My example is like when Luke Skywalker disobeys Yoda. That's when he becomes his own hero. And I think, he went to go put his life on the line and save Han and Leia. I just accepted the name pizza. So it's not the same, but it has some similarity in that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
realize like if I roll with this is like not what my heroes would do. Like a
Okay.
lot of my illustration heroes are just much, much cooler than that. And, just more professional, more, I don't know, like MoMA, like that kind of vibe. And so it was an interesting, like crossroads kind of thing of like, oh, I'm really accepting who I am, which is a Midwestern guy who eats too much pizza and,
Okay.
and, is also grew up on SpongeBob and just like, so it was kind of like I feel like it was as dumb as it sounds, it was kind of a good acceptance of like, yeah, that's me. And I think it
Okay.
fits. And I think it has like kind of worked for me.
Okay. Okay. And what's your favorite pizza?
Favorite pizza? Okay, I like the Neapolitan kind of classic.
Okay.
So first of all, I don't discriminate against any pizzas. I can eat all pizzas.
Okay.
Pretty much
Even
any.
pineapple one?
I will eat it if that's all that's
Okay.
there, but I hate pineapple on pizza, but I'll still eat it. Even
Okay.
mushrooms and pineapple, not my favorite toppings, but they can't ruin pizza. Like it's still
Yeah.
pizza. But I like the classic chewy wood fire crust. I want marinara. I love marinara, or tomato sauce. I want, I'll have mozzarella in the classic kind of way, but I love pepperoni. I love jalapeno. I love, if I'm getting really fancy, I'm going to go hot honey and a little bit of goat cheese. That
Okay.
pizza, I mean, just call that the Andy J pizza. That's the perfect pizza in my
Okay.
book.
Okay. I have to try that now. Yeah.
Goat cheese is
find it
like
somewhere.
so good on pizza.
Okay.
And the funniest thing is the reason I got into that is because it was a topping option at Pizza Hut in the UK. And I went to college over
Okay.
there. The Pizza Hut in the UK is just like a tad bit fancier than the American one.
Okay.
And they had goat cheese on pizza. And I was like, dude, this is number one topping.
Okay. Now I have to find that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite is, since I'm a vegetarian, my options are kind of limited, you would say, but not completely.
Yeah.
There is a super cool place here in Madrid that does like pizzas, vegetarian ones. Well, actually vegans. So it's absolutely amazing. And it's with onions and also, oh my God, pistachio sauce all over it.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah,
And
that sounds yummy.
I was surprised, because I'm not like an onion kind of type person.
Yeah. Is this red onion or white onion?
It's red onion,
okay,
red,
that
but
makes
the young
sense.
ones, like the green ones.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not. Well, I like that.
Yeah,
that
and I was
good.
super surprised, and it's definitely one of my favorites here in Madrid.
If I'm in Madrid, I'm going to go there. What's it called?
Yeah, the place was renovated recently.
Yeah,
Pizzi Dixie is called.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, here goes a free commercial. Yeah. But it's absolutely amazing place and the best pizzas in Madrid that I've tried. So yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, I will take you there.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Okay. So enough about food. I mean, I don't mind. I like these off script things. I mean, even the podcast is off script. So I absolutely love that. But
I'm ADHD, so I'm all for tangents.
Okay. Yeah. So about the ADHD, a lot of the things you write, a lot of the things in your podcast, Creative Pep Talk, are related to kind of mental health, to finding yourself, to being more yourself, to actually, get to the bottom of who you are.
Yeah.
And from what I've found online and from my research about you, your childhood, apart from what you said, that you were from a broken family, you have moved quite a lot to the UK and back to the US as well, and in the US. Do you think that affected the way you see yourself and the way you actually work today, and in what way?
I definitely think so. I think especially moving around. I think, you're right. Like a combination of moving around and then also not feeling super secure in my family. meant that I do think that's a recipe for an identity crisis of sorts as a kid. So I think that initially, the negative of it was moving. And this is one of the reasons why, like, I'm not saying it's wrong to move your kids around. I think for some, there are lots of benefits to that. But I think the thing that you may risk is just realizing like they need security. They need stability. They need the social component. They need to feel secure in the social component. So they're going to do whatever they have to do to survive. So as I move around in all these different places, I just have to become whoever I need to become to be part of this group. And the thing is, that's kind of wild is from school to school, depending on lots of factors, both like the context of where it is in the world and what that space is like versus also just the size of the group is such a huge thing. Like I went to small schools, big schools, like we moved around a lot, even in the United States. And I think that, like all of the norms are different. And so initially, this is kind of a classic story structure. And initially it was like this huge hurdle for me of like being myself because everywhere I go, I have to be somebody else. And I tried that and did that a bunch of times. And then eventually on the other side of it, I think when we went to England, that's probably when it hit me the hardest in that I was like, oh, there's a part of people that changes wherever you go, like dramatic cultural change. And that is kind of the surface level. It's not really the thing that matters. But underneath that, people are the same. And this is really interesting too, because sometimes I do a lot of public speaking, and sometimes I get brought into a creative space, creative conference or something, and it's all of my peers, and I feel very at home, and I'm like, okay, I know exactly how to exist in this space, and I feel confident. But sometimes I'll get brought to a company or in a corporate situation or like an art school, because I didn't go to like a fancy art school, and I'll feel really like a fish out of water and feel like very intimidated by these people. And my dad always kind of coached me on like, remember that people are people. Even when you go, I've never been to Harvard, but if you go to Harvard, there are people there. Like wherever you go, Google, there are people there. And so it kind of is amazing to have that experience and realize like, oh, yes, the way that you package people is so different from place to place, but underneath, we evolved to have a very similar core, very similar desires, very similar needs. And we go about getting those needs differently, but we have the same aches and pains and desires. And so I think, there was definitely a valley through that experience of like losing myself, not knowing who I was, trying to be whoever I needed to be to have friends. And then eventually I think it caused me to be like, no, I'm going to kind of strip away as much of the contextual stuff that I've picked up along the way. And I'm going to try to be earnestly grounded in who I am. And if I can do that, I can connect with pretty much anybody. And so I think that really did help me because, when I say I've told this story, I've never told this story and had a reaction that made sense to me, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay, go on.
I don't know what when you say something and you can't tell what people's reaction is. This is one of those stories where I'm like, I don't know why people don't get this. I don't know. It's not even that interesting, honestly, but it was profound for me.
Okay.
In seventh grade, please. I met a friend, a guy who's like a massive football dude, but a big goofball. And he became my best friend. And he's one of the best friends I ever had. And he loved NSYNC, the boy band NSYNC.
Okay.
And he went on the day their second album came out and got it like first day at the record shop. And I just thought like, this is what cool is. This is what cool is. Cool is being yourself 100% and not giving a crap about what everybody else thinks. And I just thought, this dude is a jock and he liked to sing. He liked, I was just like, this is amazing. Like, and I think that was the first seed of that. Like that is, I think that's the core of making great artwork is being okay with somehow finding like the space between the taste that you've acquired where you're like, this is like quote unquote good stuff. And then this is the guilty pleasures. And I'm just going to own it 100%. And so, yeah. So I think that moving around a lot really forced me to like strip away the superficial stuff, and get secure and just try to find confidence in who I am.
Okay, I have like a couple of questions about all of this you said, because it's really interesting to me, because there are quite a lot of connections and parallels I see with my childhood.
Really?
My parents also divorced. Well, my parents divorced when I was, I think, 5.
Yeah.
I was raised in a war-torn country during the war in the Balkans, in Bosnia. We also moved really a lot because of the war and everything. And then I think I've changed like 6-7 places and houses and everything before I even started high school. So that was really, an interesting perspective from you as well, because I also felt that wherever you go as a kid, you try to fit in, because that's, kind of the logical in the mind of a kid, that you try to fit in, you try to find friends, you try to do things.
And just being a person. That's just like you have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. But in that trying, you actually every time kind of lose a bit of who you really are.
Yeah.
Because all that, to find friends and to fit in, as they say, you have to, cover a bit of yourself each time and hide a bit of yourself. So that's really resonated with me, and I really, really appreciate, I know that there are a lot of people doing the same during their childhood. I'm definitely not alone in this, but it's always good to hear that, and I definitely relate to that part. And what you said about the friend in the 2nd grade, that's actually absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You don't really expect like a jock and a popular guy to go and buy an NSYNC album like the first day and everything.
Yes.
You really don't, but
no.
That's such a cool thing. And I wish, now looking at that, I was that kind of a kid, if only I did, everything would be so much easier later on. But what I want to ask is, how difficult was it for you to actually strip out all the pretending, all the things, you actually had to find about yourself to actually be who you really are?
I think it's so difficult that I have to refresh that all the time. I have to get back in touch with it all the time. And I think this is probably somewhat just me, but then also just a human thing. Like the need for not just belonging, but I think a more like I'm really interested, because I'm so interested in storytelling. I'm really interested in how we as characters we mix up similar things that are very close, but not the same. So like that's kind of the heart of a lot of stories, right? Like a very classic example is Toy Story. Like Woody, the arc of that is he's mixing up status and fame, like being number one, with connection. And so that's what he's trying to like move through, right? And he has to realize like, oh no, he actually needs a friend. He doesn't need to be number one. That's not where that connection is going to come from. So I'm like interested in like belonging and versus relevance. Like relevance and belonging feel very similar, but if you go after the wrong one, you're going to get into trouble. And so I think this is a thing that I've had to learn over and over and over again. I've told this story a bunch of times, but to me, it's a perfect illustration, again, of something that I don't think I really hear that many people talking about. It's one of those things where it's like, this feels so massive to me, but I can't tell if anybody can relate to it or not. But when I was in middle school, I got popular on accident because the most popular girl in school, I moved there in 6th grade. At the end of that grade, the most popular girl in school, her friend asked me out for her, but it was a joke.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that. I said yes, but that super popular girl was unusual in that she was also extremely nice, and she was mad at her friend for doing that. So she just went along with it before I realized what had happened. And so really quickly, like my stock in school went straight up. Like this, oh my gosh, this guy came out of nowhere. He's dating the most popular girl in school. So it was, looking back, I don't think I even fully got it. And for a long time until I looked back and I thought, oh, I think it was a joke. I don't think it was supposed to happen that way. And so I spent like 3 years living there as one of the super popular kids. And it was weirdly like the most me I was. And because I felt so safe, I was like very wildly me, like very silly. Like by 8th grade, I was like dressing up as a different character every day at school because to keep it interesting. Like I'd be Ace Ventura, then The Rock, and then like all these different things. And so when we moved again, I thought, oh, I need to be popular because that is what made me happy. That's what made me okay. And so I spent several years trying desperately to be popular, which is, I'm telling the story. That's the most embarrassing thing that you could do. Like it's so embarrassing. I was Woody. I wanted to be number one. You know what I mean? And so I spent several years. I kind of wormed my way into the popular group, but I wasn't super popular. And by like junior year, and I just didn't really, nothing against these people. I just didn't click with them. I didn't like them. I didn't like any of the same things as them. And I was super unhappy. And I was like, oh, I've learned the wrong lesson. I really just need friends. I really just need connection. I need people that I jive with and connect with and understand and can geek out about the same things about. And so for me, I feel like I have had to learn that lesson 100 times. And for artists and creative people, I think this is a really, really difficult lesson because what makes you creative, a big part of it is going to be your intuition. So your intuition is really having this sense of like why people are doing what they're doing, kind of understanding the story behind the story. And if you are aware of what's relevant and cool, but it's not you have to actively make a choice to go against it. And I think this is so important. It's so difficult. But it's so important because really that intuition, that is your taste. That's your navigational tool. It's the only way that you know how something's good is if it lights you up. And so if you're being inauthentic, you won't be making good work because good work has a depth that goes beyond understanding. So it's not a thing where you can be like, oh, like there's not rules. Does it connect with you? That's what you have. And so if you're trying to be someone else, you're trying to be relevant, you're trying to be cool, you're going to be making superficial stuff. And so I think that one of the hardest things to do is as culture rises and falls and the context changes, it's not that you don't grow or change or that you don't acquire tastes or try things. It's just that you have to be okay with staying in your lane, because I don't even think it's about good taste. It's about owning your taste. You can be a Michelin star chef or you can be Guy Fieri. The reason they're both successful is because they've owned their taste. And so you have to be like, and so I think it's really interesting right now, especially for illustrators and designers and photographers, because we had a minute where we were the most popular thing in culture when Instagram was a static image app.
Yeah.
And we never even experienced that before. And now we're all like, it's over, man. Just shut the whole damn thing down. Guess what? We were never that before. The industry was actually better before that, I have to say. And we'll be better off without it, I honestly feel. If we can get okay with being like less relevant, less cool, less popular, and just be more comfortable being ourselves and connected to the people that have a common sense of taste. I didn't go to college in America. I didn't have general studies. I didn't do philosophy. So my understanding of philosophy is mostly through podcasts and then half books that I've half read because I can't understand them. But I did like dive deep in enough to like Immanuel Kant he had a real thing for taste, and he thought it was one of the only things that was innate to us. A priori is what he called it. Like there's like 4 or 5 things where it's like you're built with this, and taste was one of them. And he called that common sense, which is confusing. Philosophers, as far as I can tell, love doing that. They love being confusing.
Yeah,
they love taking a word that means something totally else and then make it mean something different. Yeah. And so he called it common sense, which is a great term because it means the sense that you have in common with other people. It's this idea that if you love it, there's a bunch of other people that love it. And so you have to be the leader to like tap into that.
Yeah, I absolutely love the part about, having that taste and the thing you mentioned, the Instagram, and you go to the app now and everyone is trying kind of to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, half of those things are AI anyway, and it's horrible. But half the things that you see other designers produce is actually the same. Everything looks same nowadays. And it's not because they are bad designers. It's actually what you said, because they are not being themselves, because we cannot all design the same thing if we are being who we are. And, you like certain style, I like certain. They can be similar, but they cannot be the same thing.
No.
Absolutely not. And I love that part. And honestly, if more people would actually try to reconnect with what actually feels good for them and what, as you said, lights them up, it would be so much better for everyone. The industry would be booming like it did before, because we now have, like, I'm going to create this. This is a popular trend. This is popular on Instagram. So I'm going to jump right in and I'll be popular. And that will be like the validation of who I am.
Yeah.
But I've, at the same time, through the podcast, probably you did as well, met people who have like 2,000 followers. That's like almost nothing, but they are so good at what they do.
It is something, but it feels like nothing.
Yeah. But
sure.
it's such a, I mean, compared to, I don't know, people who have 1 million followers or 500,000, that number feels smaller. But I was so surprised because a lot of them actually didn't feel that their work is less worth, because they've competed against agencies, against a lot of popular other designers, and won the work and made it better. And that's really, really important thing for designers nowadays, because we are not just competing, against the AI. We are trying to compete with all the crazy shit in the world. And
daytime
it's
TV,
honestly
that's what we're
exhausting
competing
every
with.
day, absolutely. So, I mean, as you said, just find the things that lights you up and just try to find that style you have, and it will be good. It's not a popularity contest in the end. So I absolutely love that.
Absolutely. And I just want to add a couple things. Is that okay? I don't want to
sure
your
go
whole
on
thing, but
absolutely.
I just wanted to respond to that. There's a couple things I think are important to think about there. One is, it is about doing your own thing, but I want to highlight something that would be easy to misunderstand. So, doing your own thing also entails finding and owning groups and movements that are within that sphere. So I think it's less about going and being a maverick that's just doing wild and crazy work, and more about just not getting swept up fully in every trend and everything that's supposedly the coolest thing, and being comfortable with like, nah, my crew is over here doing this thing. It's honestly, like, as we were talking about the Instagram thing, I was getting pumped because I feel whenever this, whenever the AI started really hitting, probably about 2022, I started thinking about it a lot. I was like, at first I was obviously scared. Second, I was like, actually, every time something like this happens, there's like a counterculture. There's like a backlash.
Absolutely.
And I think that's true. And then now in 2026, I'm like, we're going, baby, because the indie bands are getting interesting again. And the commencement speeches, I don't know if you've seen these videos of these commencement speeches.
No.
They're I highly recommend this. They're so good. Like, it will warm your heart. Like, there are these people, they're like talking about AI in their commencement speech at the college graduation, and they're getting booed by the entire crowd. It's nuts. It's nuts. Now, I try to be a little bit more. Every single thing that happens now instantly becomes binary. It becomes you're either for or against. You're in this camp or that camp. I don't really. I can see. I don't also want to be the person like, I'm not in any camp. I have my own camps, okay? But I'm generally in the anti-AI because I'm not interested in AI, and I also think there's just so many problems that we need. Like, if I felt confident that we would regulate it properly, then maybe I would be less anti-AI. It's not. I think there's probably 98 bad things, 2 good things. I don't know. But I get the reason I get sensitive, like railing against it, is because every person I know that's not a freelancer is in a scenario in their job where they're forced to use AI. And so I just think, again, it's just another thing that's going to separate us. Most people don't have the privilege of just leaving their job because they don't like AI. So anyway, I'm not trying to like shame anybody, and some people are interested in, like, anyway, I'm going way deep on that. It's not what I meant to do. We could talk more about it if you want to, but
it's whatever you want.
But what I was going to say was, I think it's important to realize, like, yes, being yourself is a big part of it, but it's just as much a part of it to be like the movement that you love and be part of the scene and be connected to it, even if it's not the coolest thing.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing I was going to say was that the 2,000 followers, yes, in the grand scheme of Instagram, it's nothing. But I know people that have 4,000 followers that make a hell of a lot more money than people with 2 million followers. And so, and you always have to think about where the incentives are for these tech companies. It's in the best interest of the tech companies for them to convince you that 1 million followers equals fame and money. Guess what? It doesn't. I know it doesn't. If you're a really savvy business person, you might be able to turn that into something decent. But it's not guaranteed. So it's just important because, if you have 2,000 of the right followers, their clients, art directors, creative directors, you are good. And guess what? A lot of those people love to discover the diamond in the rough. That's their job. They're like, nobody even knows about this genius. They love that. So it's important to highlight.
I absolutely agree with that. And these companies and Meta and Google and everyone else, they kind of made us believe that the numbers, the followers are what matters in the end. But, you can have 1 million and not really be earning the amount 100%. Of money to have like a regular life. So, but I guess that's what they need. And we have to play into it somehow, keeping the common sense, thinking as well. But Meta and everything is not the most ideal thing. And I was also talking with, illustrators. You guys think similarly, I think.
Really?
The last guest on the podcast, Luis, he's also anti-social media. The guy from the Belgium this morning, Christoph Davos, was also kind of against it. He doesn't even go to Instagram. He doesn't have his own thing. So, you have so many followers and it's a different scale, but the opinion about the social media and the importance of social media is quite the same. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't agree more because those numbers are not really what matters in the in the end, because if it doesn't bring you any satisfaction, if you were just chasing the follower number, it's not really a fun thing to do. So
No.
yeah, especially when you're a freelancer and you can choose what you want to do and you can pick your own work, you can, create things that you love, and chasing numbers on the other side is such a boring thing to do.
Yeah.
And not fun at all. So I absolutely love that. But
Go ahead.
go on.
I was just going to say, I think it gets back to how I think about the word taste. I really think about it, which is my own little philosophical leap to reframe like the meaning of this idea. But how I think about taste is it's something about, it's kind of the palate of your soul. It's like your taste buds of your soul. Is that like what lights you up? What do you have a taste for? And I think that while you shouldn't be chasing relevance or the trend or popularity, you, on the counterbalance of that, you can't just do what you've always loved, because things expire, things lose their flavor. If you eat the same thing every day, eventually you're going to hate it. Like you have to listen to your own taste, and that includes things like and what listening to your own taste also looks like. What are you consuming and gravitating towards? And so when it comes to art, are you finding and discovering art on Instagram? No, probably not much. Not at least not what you used to do.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring it up is because the taste thing, what I like about it is it forces you, if you let that be your guide, it forces you to be in touch with your body and yourself and your mind, and really reacting to things and noticing like, ooh, this used to taste like, even in music, I think about this a lot. Like there was a time when TLC, the band, the girl group, I loved them when I was a kid. Then there was a period of time where like no scrubs and that energy was like all a joke. It just felt like a goofy thing.
Yeah.
And then a few years ago, I was like, dude, nothing sounds better than TLC. Like for some reason, this is just like, I love this. And a similar thing happened to like 90s pop rock. Like there was a time when I liked Goo Goo Dolls, then I hated them, and then now I'm like, dude, I kind of am digging. What is this? I'm loving this. And so you have to be in tune with that taste thing, because the reason I bring all that up is because there was a time where follower count did matter on Instagram. It did matter. And that's why I pursued it so hard. It's why I built a following there. It's because when they showed your work to the followers and the people were looking for what I did, that was the best thing to do. But because of, being in touch with taste and being like, okay, how did my consumption change? How did my taste change? And being aware of that, like I eventually realized like, oh, Meta is trying to like get me hooked on the drug and then up the ante. And now they're like, now let me teach you how to have a TV show that costs you tons of time and money, doesn't really pay off in any particular way, but really lines the pockets of the tech company. And you're like, wait, this doesn't taste so good anymore. I need to be able to be in touch with my own taste and intuition, and then make those shifts when I need to make them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I have like a list of things I wanted to ask you, and we are already like 40 minutes talking.
Okay.
And I love the conversation, don't get me wrong, but there's so many things to ask you. So we'll have to schedule like another interview for another time.
Yeah, all right.
Definitely. There's so many things that you publish. You are really active, and I love that. And you talk about the things that are really interesting to me. There's one thing. You are actually close collaborating with your wife on so many different things.
Yeah.
And you guys are like constantly changing ideas, working on the same things and everything. You publish books together and everything. How does that dynamic work? Because I worked with my husband, and when it comes to creativity, there are always some clashes. I mean, we are different people, and it's completely normal. And then I talked recently to Brioni Gomez and Armin Witt from the Brand New Conference. And yeah, they actually tried, they worked together as well, only two of them, but they tried to separate their roles in the business. How do you two manage things?
I think that's a great insight because it took us a long time to realize that our roles are different, and that's really key. I will say, like, it does often look like arguments. It looks like it's not. There's two pieces to it. There's two reasons why we do it. The first reason is the work is better. The work is better. And so that's the first reason. The second reason is when we can do it right, it just feels great. It's an amazing experience to do something creative with somebody who you're that close to and that invested in. And also the other piece of it is the reason I think it works is because we are familiar with arguing. Because we're married. We know how to argue. And so, I've done tons of collaboration. Like, I think a lot about like the difference between a feature like on Spotify where this artist and that artist got together and made a song. Yeah. That's almost always, if they're artists you like, that's almost always fun. Like, you enjoy it, but it's rarely great. It's usually fun, not great. It's kind of like a mashup, whatever. Yeah, I've done tons of projects like that with people, and it's fun, rarely great. Whereas if you think about, not to at all compare myself to the Beatles or any of us to the Beatles, but if you think about that classic example, that's what I think collaboration at its best looks like, in that they're fighting. The work is better because they're fighting. And I really like it, but also it's one of the reasons why they quit, I think. Yeah. And I think about that a lot because I heard James Acaster tell this story. He's one of my favorite comedians. I didn't need to give you that information. I'm just sourcing where it came from. He was talking about Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl. And he was saying that, now I can't speak to this because I'm not really a Foo Fighters fan. I don't really know their catalog. So I'm just quoting him, mainly because in some bizarre universe, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings if Dave Grohl somehow happened to hear it, which is ridiculous. But I don't know.
No worries.
Anyway, it's so dumb. Sorry. But he said, like, the first two Foo Fighters albums were really difficult and really hard. And then after that, they were like, you know what? Let's just have fun. And then all the albums after that were tons of fun. And James Acaster is like, but the only two good Foo Fighters albums are the first two. And so to me, there's something about, like, this is so much of my podcast is about this. Guess what? A lot of making art sucks. A lot of it's hard, but that is one of the things that makes it so satisfying. And this is my favorite lesson from my dad. When I was like, life is so hard. And he was like, yeah. And he's such a positive person. I was like, why are you agreeing with that? I thought you would like push back on that. And so then I'm like, I have to take it to the next level because you're not giving me what I need. I'm like, yeah. And it sucks. And he's like, no, life is hard, but it doesn't mean it's bad. Hard and bad are not the same thing. And I think for me with creative stuff, that applies in a huge way. Like, so much of it is hard and good. And I like to think of it like, oh, I'm like a wrestler. I'm like a boxer. Like, the pain is part of what's fun about this. And so with the collaboration, there was a lot of times early on we were trying to make books together. We tried it a bunch before we ever ended up publishing anything. So like for years, and she's always kind of been involved in different ways. Like, we're always throwing ideas around and talking. But there was a lot of it, like one of the things that put us off, and it's not to say that it's right for everybody, but I like to tell this story because I didn't know. Like, just because it's hard, just because you're fighting, doesn't mean it's not right. And the same goes for when you're working with yourself. Just because it's hard, just because you're fighting yourself, doesn't mean this isn't the project. It's not all supposed to be easy. So there's a lot of, like, honestly, we've gotten a lot better as we've known our roles. We have a better workflow. It doesn't get as personal as it used to get. It used to get much more personal. But we still annoy each other a lot about it because You're fighting, but you realize, then you
Yeah.
realize like, oh, this is what makes it work, is that I'm fighting for this thing that matters to me. And this is why I think about, I have to imagine, so, I'm not comparing myself to John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Okay. These are the examples we have, and they're great examples.
Yeah.
But if you think like Paul McCartney cares about the pop, that's what he cares about. John Lennon cares about the art. They are going to fight. And what's going to be awesome is they're going to have pop art, and it's going to work. And so for me and Sophie, it's like, I care about the idea of the story and like the heart of it in the big picture, how the 3-act joke kind of equation to it. That's mostly what I care about. She cares about all the details and all of that, like making it come to life with all the realness and the word choice and all that. And we're for the longest time, we're just like, no, that's not what it's about.
God, I know,
you know what I mean? But then you have to realize like, oh, if we're both, mindful about these two areas, they'll both work and it'll be better. And so, we've learned that. And I've learned like, oh, I'm a real like generator of stuff. She does generate stuff, but she's more of a like problem solver. And so that also is a thing where we might have a conversation that leads to me like writing a bunch of stuff, which leads to me passing it to her and her like ripping it to shreds. And then, us kind of like going, it's difficult. It's difficult. But if you're with someone that you can argue with, you're less likely to get that like just fun feature kind of collab and more of a deeper kind of
connection. And better work. I definitely agree. And because I do type design on one side, and it's kind of mostly my work and mostly only me working on that. But every now and then my husband, because he's in the creative industry as well and does design and everything, when it comes to, the preview images and everything, he jumps in. And even though I kind of, this is my work, and I kind of feel resistance towards, accepting things. But when you actually think about things that he's suggesting, they always improve the work. And it's not because, he wants to be the main thing or whatever, but he really, really, really does it so well. And yesterday we finished the project, and that's about to be published today later. And so it's really good. And we do fight. I mean, it's, but you have to learn how to fight when it's about business, and then stop when it's, personal life and everything else. So I absolutely love that. One other thing I wanted to, two more things. Sorry. There's one thing that you wrote last year about perfectionism on your Substack, and I definitely love that part. It's a really nice piece you wrote about the to-do lists and everything, and like doing perfect illustrations, perfect books, perfect everything, that you are actually trying to write imperfectly in front of those things. How much did that, trying to be perfect cost you in your creative career?
It cost me so much in my art and in my life. And it's a lesson I have to learn over and over again for all kinds of reasons. I think, part of it is if you're ADHD and you're deep in the ADHD, neurodivergent, social media, short form video thing space, you've heard about this rejection sensitivity dysphoria. So I have this deep sensitivity to rejection. And so I find that's what drives my perfectionism, because I don't want to be criticized. I don't want to be called out. Speaking of fighting, that's where a lot of that fighting comes from my side, where I'm so defensive about my stuff because I don't want to perceive being criticized. And so I had to be mindful of that. And so what that ends up looking like is I will try to build my life really small so that I can do everything perfectly. So I can do like 5 things this week, and I'll do them all perfectly so that I can, pass with flying colors. But the problem with that is, again, I'm ADHD. I require loads of stimulation in my life. I need to have tons of stuff. Or when I do successfully get things down to doing 5 things a week, I am so miserable and so
Oh,
lonely and so depressed because I need so much more action than that. And I realized this came from that episode came from my watching my 17-year-old daughter. She was doing all this theater at school and then doing school, and she was doing so much that she was just doing a messy job of everything. And I was like, I was tempted to be like, all right, let's shut down theater and let's focus on what matters. And I was like, well, if she does that, she might actually do worse at school because she's unhappy. And so I thought, you know what? I think the answer is doing both imperfectly. And then I realized, like, oh, this has been the thing I've been working on for myself for years. For years, I was like, how do I do less? How do I do less?
yeah.
I got to pare all this back because I'm messing up. And I realized, like, no, no, no. If I do less, because I have had moments of that, I mess up because I'm depressed, because I'm struggling, all that. And perfect's boring anyway. We will. This is the amazing thing about AI. We are never going to love perfect ever again. We
Yeah,
are. It's so good. I
that's so
love it.
true.
I'm so messy and so chaotic. It's just like I feel like I'm going to enter my heyday because
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
time for the messy chaos, and the humanity and the imperfection. So I've realized, like, oh, when I do my to-do list, I have to remember not to write in invisible ink perfectly, do the dishes perfectly, do the Substack post perfectly, because I realize, oh, I'm always implying that to myself. And so, yeah, that was a huge shift. And it actually cost me a lot in that because I would make my world so small, I would end up becoming more socially anxious because I would do less and I'd be, stuck in my room just working all the time. And I need the vibrancy of lots of stuff. And the only way to do that is to accept, like, I'm not going to do it perfectly. If I mess up and it affects somebody else, I'm going to apologize and I'm going to try to make it right. It's not an excuse just to phone in everything, but I do think that that's something that I've had to accept. And I think and the great news is that it's never been better to be flawed and human.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's such a good thing that AI made
it
us.
is.
It's amazing, and we are now even trying. And I've seen so on Instagram again, you see so many big companies actually showing behind the scenes of their work to show that it's not the AI,
Yeah,
Apple and Nike and everyone. And it's such a good
true.
thing. Yeah. So, I mean, being imperfect is a really good thing now. And if we mess up, that's good. Yeah. I
I
love that.
genuinely think, just as an aside, I genuinely think it's interesting. It's exciting to me to watch. Not only we're going to have new underground, new counterculture, new lo-fi, new
Yeah.
DIY. We're going to have all that new stuff. We're also seeing an uptick. It seems like to me, I've seen signs of it. I've heard them speak to it, an uptick of some of the like bands that were huge in the indie scene 20 years ago, people showing renewed interest in them. And I think it is because of this. I think we're just like, dude, enough with the shiny stuff. Like, I'm
Yeah.
done with it.
Yeah. Nothing needs to be so polished anymore. And
It's
I mean, I
great.
really like that. And in type design, you can be really perfect and it can be really like, because a lot of the type is geometric shapes and
Sure.
everything. So it's kind of perfect. But I love the thing that it's becoming more and more popular this year and last year. Like, let's make fonts that are not like there was a font called Sriracha,
Yeah.
and it was someone really made it with the sauce
Oh,
and
really?
scanned it, and it was an absolutely cool thing
Yeah.
because you don't really get that, and AI will never be able to make those things. I mean, maybe in like 5-10 years,
It could
we don't
replicate
know.
it. It could replicate it for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but and what was interesting, as you said, replicated. Uh, the illustrator Luis Mendo from the last episode, he said the AI really just gives you like the average thing, It collects all the similar things on the internet and gives you the average. And it tries to make it perfect, like perfect sentences, perfect everything, but it's just not that good in the end. So when we try to make things, as you said, like the subculture and lo-fi and everything, that will be a lot better. So I love that part as well.
I just want to say one other thing. One thing that
Yeah.
clicked for me, I think we keep saying this, well, AI won't be able to do that. The interesting thing, I think we're all about to understand something that we didn't I think most people haven't understood. I didn't understand, which was this aspect of like modern art or postmodern art, where you go into the gallery and you see a painting and people always have this reaction of like, I could have done that. And then the people that behind it are like, yeah, but you didn't do it. And it's not just that, oh, I did it and you didn't, I got to it first. It's not even that. It's what's interesting is, why did that human do that? And so I think we will intuitively all fully understand that in 10 years. Because we'll realize, the interesting thing isn't that AI couldn't make Sriracha font. It's only interesting if the human did it and had a good reason. Yeah. That's the only reason it's interesting. And so to me, it's like, I think we even need to move past this idea of like, well, AI won't be able to do that. Like, no, it will. It will be able to do anything you can imagine. But it'll be like, my favorite like critique of AI is, I heard someone say on Twitter, I don't know who it was, but it was that pianos, we've had pianos that could play themselves since like the early 1900s. It's not interesting. It's not interesting. They can play like there's something interesting about, why did that person do that? And that's what's fun and interesting about it. Yeah, so I just think that's something to highlight.
That's such a good metaphor, and I love it. And especially the painting relates, because my husband is painting and it's modern art. And
yeah.
And we go to the exhibitions and all those fairs and everything, and there's so many people, as you said, that say, oh, I could have done that, like it's just like kind of a splash of color.
Right.
But what you said, you didn't. No, that's the point.
And why did this artist do it? Why?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because the why is the soul of it. And I think we're going to the cool part about that is watching these kids. Again, I just want to really quick, I know we don't have a lot of time, but really quick say, I'm not 100% anti-AI. I'm not interested in AI art. Like I said, I told you some of the reasons why I'm a little bit nervous being 100% anti-AI. But another part of it is, it feels, I haven't been able to articulate this well yet, but it feels a little bit like how we got anti-science in areas like food. So in food in America 20 years ago or something, 30 years ago, the liberal people became really skeptical of GMOs and non-organic and like all these things.
Yeah.
And it somehow turned into anti-science. And that to me is one of the worst things. Anti-science, anti-intellectualism is one of the, and we could talk for a million years about why that's such a huge, when you don't believe in science, don't believe in education, you are easy to control because you're uneducated, right? There's so many reasons why. So there's part of me that I know people with PhDs in computer science and AI, and I love those people. They're cool, interesting, smart people. And so there's part of me that's like, I don't want to jump to screw this entire thing, because it was created by brilliant people. Some of which, most of probably the people that created it, even, I would just guess, are probably interesting people. A lot of the people that are in charge of owning it and deploying it, I can't speak to those people.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's an interest. I'm putting it out there because it's such a hot topic in creative world. And I understand why we feel we need to go hard. And in some ways we do need to go hard, because it needs to be, it needs to be put in a box, and it needs regulation. But at the same time, let's not slip into hating scientists. Like, don't do that. Don't hate scientists.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
need scientists.
They're not responsible for the things the bosses do. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
absolutely. Again, there's so many things I've prepared to ask you, but and we are all well an hour talking already. So I will just go with one more.
Okay.
It's a bit more personal. It's
Yeah.
not about AI. It's about the short podcast you did about the relationship you had with your mom
Mm,
and with everything that you went through, and it's the right side out, and I absolutely loved it. The
thanks.
episode 5 is maybe one of the most emotional things I've heard online and read and everything, and I
Thank
really
you.
loved it.
Yeah.
Um, because when you grow up like that, having also not having actually like that safety at every part of
Hmm.
your childhood, I understand that. But
Yeah.
what I actually liked is that you wrote, and this is from your website, that you didn't really do the podcast, that part of the podcast, to, you know, talk about yourself and talk about your mom and the relationship, but to actually help people who are in the similar situations, and to do it so that they can find themselves. And what
Hmm.
I like, there's such a good sentence over here. Um, you can't find yourself if you don't like yourself enough to look.
Yeah.
And that's really, really, I mean, when you look at it, I even, if I say it's really strong, it kind of sounds a bit too shallow for such a big sentence to say. But I really want to, first of all, thank you for that, because not everyone is actually pushing the personal stories and pushing like the struggles.
Hmm.
We see, as we said so many times during the conversation, we see so many shiny things, we see so many polished things, but that thing we have inside us, it's not always the polished one. And it a lot of people struggle, especially with mental health,
Yeah.
and I definitely love this part. If I may ask, like the last question, how long did it take you to actually start liking yourself the way you are?
Uh, I think it. I think that it's, again, similar to previous answers. It's a thing that I have to constantly return to and refresh, and remember. I think that it wasn't until, but I have made huge strides in that area. So I think when I was probably about 25, I started to realize that I probably have ADHD. That introduced me to the, at first I was like just kind of devastated because I was like, oh, I can't hustle my way out of this. There is no like, yes, there's medicine, there's different things, but this is who I am. This is in my core kind of wiring. And so at first I was really kind of in grief about it. And then not too long after, I discovered what I realize now is kind of the neurodivergent lens. And the neurodivergent lens, in my understanding, is sort of aligned with the positive psychology movement, which, speaking of design and branding, needs a rebrand, because when I say positive psychology, people they assume that's positive thinking,
Yeah.
which it's not. Positive psychology is it was just a realization that we as humans had built this entire industry and school of thought with psychology through the lens of our negativity bias, which was our Bible of psychology was the DSM. It was literally like, here's what's wrong with everybody. And so we could literally have taken as much time and resources and figured out like what's great about people and what can we do, what can we cultivate about people. And so when I got the neurodivergent lens, I think a big part of it is brains are different, not necessarily worse or better. They perform differently in different contexts. And that's when I started to realize, like, oh, like maybe I'm not broken, but in this society, this is a disability. And so so I started to get really into trying to cultivate myself rather than overcome myself, which is a big different kind of way of living. And it's similar to, and that shift is key, I think, for artists in that Joseph Campbell said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." A lot of people take that and think, "Oh, I got to do the thing I'm most afraid of." I don't actually think that's true. I don't think that's not really what that's about. I don't think. What I think it's about is the cave you fear to enter within yourself. What are the things within yourself that you're afraid to face? I want to just say real quick, I'm not talking about reliving trauma. I'm not saying that. That's not you. That's stuff that happened to you. I'm talking about parts of yourself that you have disconnected from. And most of your dysfunction, I think, is coming from repressing those things. So yeah, you probably do things that are bad, do things that are unhelpful, do things that are not productive. But I think a lot of those, not all, but a lot of those probably come from repressing elements of yourself. Now, just a caveat, there are people that are actually sociopaths. We should just, that does exist. But apart from that, I think starting with a play, and maybe those people would even be better off if they had started with the foundation of, I'm foundationally good. I can't speak to that. But I do think that as an artist, the other way I've phrased that sentence is more related to art. And I've said that you're never going to love your art if you hate yourself, because art is self-expression. So you can't love self-expression if you hate the thing it's an expression of, which is you. And so I think you have to have a curiosity about yourself. How can you expect people to be interested in your self-expression if you're not interested in yourself enough to like look at it and be curious about it? And so I think the current, like one of the reasons why we have evolved to have neurodivergence is because the climate and the scenario changes. That's why animals mutate, is that everything changes and something that wasn't adaptive then is more adaptive now. And so we want variation in case some comet hits and all of a sudden the entire landscape's different and we need different types of genes around. So right now, the context we've built through the economic system that we have and the political system and all that, and the industrial revolution, all that, is not super conducive to a lot of neurodivergent people. And so that's what makes me hate myself when I do, is that I'm like, I can't sit in a chair for 8 hours. I can't just, I can't keep on top of all of the different bills and forms and like all of that stuff. And that does, when you're constantly going against the grain, you're going to get tired of it and you're going to get tired of yourself. So loving myself is a continual battle, but I know at least that my values and my core beliefs are right. They're in the right place to help me return to that and be like, oh, this all works better if you work with yourself instead of against it.
I love that.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, it was a really, really inspiring conversation, and I really want to thank you for that. And thank you for everything you publish, because it's so inspiring. And sometimes people, might see your public name and say, oh, this is just fun and the branding is fun and everything. But it touches so many difficult things we all face nowadays. And it's, as I said before, it's not a beautiful world we live in, like globally.
Yeah.
We can create our own beautiful worlds. That's absolutely true. But generally, it's not the most beautiful thing to grow up. And
it can be hostile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Even in the safe countries, it's, you have the teenagers who are not so nice, and you have kids who can be mean. And that happens even when we grow older, as you said.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who hate science, and then hate everyone else who maybe likes science and everything. So it kind of really goes in a lot of different ways to actually try to exist and be happy in this world. So as I said, I love the conversation. I really want to have you back. Like,
Yeah,
you
I'd love
need to promise that we
I
are
would.
repeating this.
Yeah, I would
It
love to
was
chat again.
absolutely, yeah. I loved it, and honestly, I didn't expect it to be this deep. So really, thank you for that. And this is why I do the podcast. And we started in with the food and just talking about stuff,
Yeah.
but then we touched on way harder things. So again, it was absolutely a pleasure, and I really cannot wait to publish this episode.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And yeah, bye bye, everyone, and hope you will enjoy this conversation.